Good morning, class. Welcome to week 6, almost week 7. My name's Ashley. I'm the one that's been corresponding with you for the past couple weeks. And today we have Kayvon, who is a student here at Cal State Fullerton. He is also pre-PA and an EMT in Laguna Beach. So you guys did have some questions for him, and we're going to go over those right now. So Kayvon,
Yes.
why EMT?
Why being an EMT? Yeah, no, absolutely. There's a lot of different options to get your clinical hours for PA school. You can be a medical assistant, you can be a medical scribe in the emergency room, and also you can be an EMT. I think the best way to gain experience is hands-on patient contact, especially when you're in a role and in a position in the hospital as a PA. You're interacting with the patients more than a physician. So I think the best way to gain, first off, the interpersonal experiences with the patient. I think that's the best way to gain that quality. But most definitely, I think dealing things in an emergency scenario, you kind of learn things on, quick on your feet. You get to develop those kind of skills, really learn how to hold your composure in an emergency situation. So I think those are really, all these kind of qualities are a necessity for a physician assistant, regardless of what specialty you want to do, for sure. But I think definitely working on an ambulance is something that every PA student should probably consider, because it's definitely going to give you the necessity qualities for physician assistant. So.
Okay, so I think you kind of answered my next question that we had for you, but just to reiterate a little, why PA?
So why PA? Yeah, so again, I kind of mentioned it in the last question. Again, I think, I throughout college and throughout high school and stuff, I was always bouncing between the options of either being a physician or a physician assistant. I think I came up to the conclusion to be a PA when I was a volunteer at the hospital throughout the high school, and I saw what the PAs were doing, and I saw how little patient interaction, patient contact the physicians actually have with the patient. That silly rumor, like that myth where the physicians only get to see their patients for 7 minutes. It's really not a myth. It's really something you see on a daily basis, where a physician just kind of talks briefly with the patient and then orders a bunch of labs and scans or what have you. But with a physician assistant, they spend a lot more time with the physician. It's almost as much as time as a nurse does, because they're constantly checking on the patient. They're acting under the supervision of the physician, and you have pretty much almost the same scope as a physician, obviously, with limitations of things. But I think the interactions and becoming close to your patients, that's what kind of driven me towards being a PA.
So one thing I know that was brought up in the class in the past couple weeks is the fact that, MD, DO, PA, we see students taking majors on bio, or, if you're pharmacy, maybe biochem.
Okay. Yeah,
but for PA, you actually decided to go a different route, and equally as right up there with bio, kinesiology.
Right.
So why kines?
That's a great question. Before I was a kines major, I was a biology major. Before I transferred to Cal State Fullerton, and really, and I was kind of almost deep into it. I was halfway through being through that major. I think the biggest thing that kind of driven me more to kinesiology is the human aspect of things. For anyone that doesn't know what kinesiology is, and it's the study of human movement. In not so many words, it's really just a study of human movement. So I think what driven me to kinesiology is because the more the human aspect of things and the more the clinical setting. So in our major, we get to experience different types of concentrations where we get to see different aspects of human life and human movement. Where biology, you're really, you're going throughout botany, you're going through animal anatomy, animal biology. Which is it's knowledge that you can need as a biologist, for sure. However, I think if you're leaning more towards being in the medical field, I think being more in touch with the human aspect of things will better yourself in the future. And also, as a biology major, I wasn't really meeting any of the prerequisites for PA school. Don't get me wrong, there was a handful of them that counted towards PA school, but things like botany, animal biology, things of that nature don't really go towards the prerequisites for PA school. Excuse me. But as a kinesiology major, it actually meets a lot of the prereqs for PA school. So that's another thing that kind of drove me towards it. So if for the future, PA students that want to go to that route, I think spending less time at a 4-year is going to be your most beneficial if you want to get into PA school fast. So yeah, those are kind of some of the reasons why.
Great, and I think this brings up a good point about advising in our office, especially if you want to go pre-PA, MD, DO, dental. Bio isn't the only major out there for you, and you need to watch, how you meet those prereqs, the GPA you get. You want to be as successful as possible in your undergrad. So really advising is the key here, and Kayvon's been coming into our office to get advising through his whole career at Cal State Fullerton, so I think that's an important step for everyone to take, especially people going into the health professions. Now, for different health professions, we know that there are different tests required. MD, DO, you have the MCAT, and so on. But for PA, some of our students can take the GRE or they cannot take the GRE. Different schools require different things. You have to be very, careful and selective when you're applying because you want to meet all those requirements as an applicant. For Kayvon, he decided to apply to schools right off the bat that don't require the GRE. So I know in this class we got a question about how are you preparing for the GRE, and I think, right now at this moment, why did you decide not to take it?
So yeah, at this time, I decided not to take the GRE because really I wanted to focus more on my clinical hours, my shadowing hours. I really wanted to focus on getting all my prerequisites out of the way. So I think for me, I know it's really a lot of limitations on what schools I could apply to, but I think, excuse me, I think with me focusing on my clinical hours, building more volunteer hours, being a part of the PA club at school, I think those will kind of help me with my resume. And I know it's for some students, especially if you're a full-time EMT, full-time student. I think it's kind of hard to study with the GRE at the same time where you're trying to apply for PA school. So that was my reason why I kind of want to focus more on building my resume, building my hours. Absolutely, I would recommend taking the GRE if possible. It'll definitely widen your options for sure for PA schools. I kind of wanted to apply to the schools that were kind of more local and that didn't require the GRE, just because there were actually schools before that I actually wanted to apply to, and when I saw they didn't require it, it kind of worked out perfectly. But definitely I would recommend studying for the GRE if possible. And the health professions office is really good with kind of guiding you towards which schools require and which schools don't. So I think that's the best thing to come down and kind of visit them to see what's going on with that.
Great. So I want to thank Kayvon for letting us, ask him a couple questions that you all had in the class. If any more happen to come in after this is filmed, we will have Kayvon answer them and get back to all of you, just so you all have those answers. For anyone who is a PA applicant in this classroom, you do want to come into our office for advising if you're thinking about it. I want you all to remember that no matter what health profession you are applying to, each applicant is different. So the past couple minutes or 5 minutes or so have been about Kayvon's pathway, but that's not necessarily going to be every PA applicant, and this is why advising is important. So thank you for watching the interview, and we will be moving into week 7 shortly.
Thank you.